I want you to take a journey with me. A short journey. I promise I won't keep you for long. Matter of fact, I'll just start us off on the journey and I'll let you wander through on your own if you choose to. But a journey that's answering one complicated question. Why do we believe so many black and brown young men and women choose violence as their primary instrument of choice as they try to exist, walk through, protect themselves, and make it in this world? Well, to help me start you on this journey, I want to use a story of a rapper. Now, many of you know that if you know me, I have a love-hate relationship with rap. I love it because it gives so many black and brown men and women a chance to tell the story from their perspective, from their plight, from their angle, from their doorstep. But I hate it because these stories they tell, the lyrics they use, and the songs that they make, they aren't in control of the programming that is weaponized against other young black and brown people from the communities that they've come from. But this story is told by rapper Fat Joe. It's told about how he went from being Fat Joey, a little boy that was loved and endeared by his family, to becoming Joey Crack, a gangster that many feared. Take a listen.
Man, I've always been Fat Joey since 2 years old. He's Fat Joey forever. So when I was in junior high, they would bully me every day. You know, I'm not gonna lie, it was scary looking out the classroom window knowing that there's 20 guys ready to beat my ass. They never fought me fair. They would always jump me. So what happened to me was I had a best friend. His name was Leonard. Me and him would go to my mother's. My mother would buy us a spice ham and cheese sandwich, a quart of water, pack of chips, play a little video game, and then we go back to school. And then one time, the guys that were bullying me, they tell Leonard, yo, why you be with this guy? He was like, nah, he's my friend. And it was like, well, if you don't jump him with us, we're gonna be you up every day too. And my friend Leonard jumped me with him. And I went home and I cried for so many hours. I had a black hoodie on, black jeans, and black Timberland chuckers. And I kept tying my chuckers over and over. And I was like, I don't give a I swear to God, giving it to everybody. But that was the birth of Joey Crack. That was like, I don't give a about nobody. I don't care about nobody. I am giving it to everybody. My heart just turned black that day. Like I just lost it.
That's not the story of someone that just came out of the womb violent. It's a story of someone who started off harmless, who was harmed and wasn't protected. In order to protect himself, became harmful. Now, let's just walk back through the events a little bit, because there are 2 or 3 different angles we can approach this story from. We let Fat Joe tell his story and approach it from his perspective. But let's take a second and look at the perspective from his friend Leonard. Leonard is close to Fat Joe, so close that Fat Joe's mom buys them sandwiches and quarter waters, and they hang out together and they're close. Leonard is probably the closest friend that Fat Joey has as he goes through this middle school era of being bullied. Leonard is his community. Leonard is the one that helps the pain balance itself out in the midst of his life. Leonard probably is a lifeline to Joey at the moment from how we heard him describe it. So the bullies who don't see the value in Joey that Leonard sees in Joey approach Leonard and ask him, why do you hang out with that guy? And if you don't stop hanging out with him, if you don't help us beat him up, then we are going to beat you up. And then now we have another black or brown boy that has to choose between protecting himself and protecting his friend, that has to choose between safety and betrayal, that has to choose between being a comrade to one who was bullied or being an accomplice of those who are doing the bullying. Put yourself in Leonard's shoes. What would you do? What decision would you have made? And maybe you've been there. What resources did you have, or lack of resources did you have when it came to you making that decision? These are what young black and brown boys and girls are going through consistently in their lives. So Leonard decides to betray Fat Joe. He beats Fat Joe up with all the other bullies. Sends Fat Joe into a dark place, into his room, on his bed, hoodie on his head, tying his chucker boots over and over again, crying profusely. But in that day, Fat Joey stopped to exist, and Joey Crack was born. When Joey Crack was born, he entered into what I call a turning point. A turning point is a time in your life where an event has happened, whether it's good or bad, and it changes the way that you relate, you act, you show up, or you see the world. It changes the lens that you look through. It changes who you were and you become something different. Well, if you look on that screen there, those are my turning points in life. This graph right here is from my very own life plan when I became a man, and I noticed I had become a man, but I hadn't walked through the journey of how I became. You see those numbers, 6, 5, 5, 10, 7, 3, 3. Those are me rating my life between 1 through 10 and what I was going through and what I felt life was from. This is from my first memories at the age of 5 until I was 34 during this time when I took this life plan. This turning point is how I became. So now when I look back, I can tell what I've become. I can tell the pain that's formed me. I can tell the triumphs that have formed me. I can tell the way that my mind changed in certain things. I can tell when violence became a tool of choice for me. I can tell what caused that and why it caused that. So maybe instead of judging all these young black and brown boys by what the news tells you, maybe you start to dig into their lives. Maybe you get a chance to sit down with them, a cup of coffee or a meal. Tell them about the time that happened in the event that happened in your life that changed the way you think, act, relate, or show up in the world, and ask them about theirs. And what you will find out is that a small percentage of kids start off wanting to use violence, but the rest of them were harmless. They were harmed, and then they became harmful. They were either victims or witnesses to the abuse. They were either victims or witnesses to a tragedy. And they said to themselves, what I saw happen or what I felt happen, I will never allow to happen to me again. This isn't an excuse. This is just a story. And if you can detach yourself from your story and tell that you don't act the way you act or do the things that you do because of your story, or if you can say, well, I don't do that because of my story, then tell me how you detached yourself and began to change your story. Tell us what gave you the freedom to pick up the pen and start writing a new one. But don't just write your story and look at these black and brown young boys and girls. Wag your finger at them. Point them out and put their mugshots all over the news. Actually start to dig into the pages of their life. And you will find out that a lot of them are probably dealing a lot better than you could have with the circumstances that they've had. That life may have not been as ugly for you, or life may have been uglier, but something came in and helped you pick different choices. Fat Joe talks about it in his book. He talks about it on this series that we got this from. He talks about it in multiple places, how so much of him as a man had to do the work for him to heal from what he experienced as a boy. Will you reach your hand out and help others do the work? Will you reach your hand out and help them put a finger on where their turning points were? Will you help them become something different by helping them understand the journey of how they became who they are now? Let's do the work for them together.